Well, as luck would have it, I was getting ready to do my sleep study video. We've got a big old thunderstorm coming in, although we don't need it here. Those folks down in Texas need it a lot more than we do. We've got so much rain here in Illinois, we don't even know what to do. But all of a sudden there was a big crack of thunder, and then the lights and my ceiling fan went out. But luckily for me, I got this handy dandy modified UPS. Get this cardboard box away from there. That's happily driving a compact fluorescent lamp and keeping everything illuminated to the point where I can at least see what I'm doing. So hopefully the power will be back before too long, and I can finish telling you about the rest of this thing. Yeah, that battery's holding up really well so far. Of course, it's not carrying a tremendous load. So let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, the power went out. Now the power's back on, and I think our little thunder boomer has passed, so I'm just going to go ahead and do this video. Now at first I'm going to do kind of a practice run here. I was going to do the real thing tonight, but as it turns out, my microphone, I thought it had a 1/8 inch plug on it, but it's got a 1/4 inch plug on it, and I don't know where my adapter for that is. So that's kind of a problem. I'll have to fix that. But I think tonight I'll probably go ahead and do the practice run without sound just to see how well this thing works and to find out any bugs beforehand. Now I've got my camera plugged in the other room, pointed at my bed, hopefully, so you can't see what a horrible mess my room is other than the mess that's on the bed, because right now, as you could probably tell from some of those other snippets, I'm cleaning my room. So anyway, what I've got here is a high-tech piece of speaker cable with an RCA to BNC connector on it. I'll go ahead and hook that up to the capture card here and see if I can pick the right one right off the bat. Well, that's an image after a after a sword, isn't it? It's not really bright enough. It's not really the right kind of image, but it is definitely an image, so I'll probably have to go in there and do some adjusting, I guess. Now that is a whole lot better of a result. He who admits to buying a $30 security camera from China probably deserves exactly what he gets, and certainly doesn't deserve any pity, but the power connector on that camera is about to drive me up a tree. I may just cut it off and hardwire it directly because this is getting really old. That's why the image was so dim. I wasn't getting the kind of power into the camera that I needed to have in order for it to work properly, which makes no sense to me because my barrel plug is a perfect fit, fits nice and tight, so you'd think it'd work. So, hard to tell. But there's what it sees with the room lights on. Let's see how it looks with the room lights off. And that is more or less exactly what it sees with the room lights off. My room is pitch black right now, so everything you're seeing here is being illuminated by infrared. There's no visible light being emitted, no lamps on in the room or anything like that. It's not too bad, really, but there's some interesting behavior from the camera. Every now and again I can see these little ghosts flutter by, and I'm sure they're just some kind of noise in the sensor or some kind of instability or something like that. I'm pretty confident that there aren't that many dust bunnies floating around in my bedroom. But we'll see what happens when I go to sleep tonight. It's just kind of a preview. See how well this thing works, or if it works at all. I did the dry run of my sleep study last night and learned some things in the process. Some of these will definitely come in handy. The first thing I learned is that apparently a big dum-dum who didn't realize the difference between 1/4 inch and 1/8 inch plugs at the time he set up his microphone, so he couldn't plug it into his computer, which was definitely a bit of a problem. But then I found an adapter and everything was good there, and that was just a little bit of a slip on my part, just one of those stupid things that comes up from behind and bites you when you least expect it. So I had to do my first capture without sound. And I learned something else, too. I learned that I really don't look very good when I'm asleep. No, I don't think anybody does, but I am a person who would tell you that I have a face for radio any given day of the week, most of the time during my waking hours. But when I was asleep the other night, it looked pretty bad. So try not to laugh too hard if I decide to throw in any clips, stills, of my sleeping activities. This Lorex capture card that I got is actually pretty decent quality hardware. It uses an updated version of the good old Brooktree 878 capture chip, the video capture chip, known as a Connexant. Fusion 878. And it has a lot of interesting features in hardware. In fact, the data sheet for the Fusion 878 is what I would call so well written that I'm almost willing to forgive Connexent all the time that I have spent swearing and raising my blood pressure at their various WIN modems as assembled by dubious hardware vendors. Anyway, now I have my sound cable set up, so I should be able to record sound. This brings me to the second part of the Lorex product, and that's the software. And I'm not quite as enamored with the software as I am with the hardware. The recording part of the software is okay, although its audio recording ability is very lo-fi. I would say no-fi, as a matter of fact. It's using an 8,000 hertz sampling rate, and I would be surprised if it's using a 16-bit sampling depth. And there doesn't seem to be any way to override that within the software. I suppose I could have told the software, don't bother recording audio. I'll set up like an Audacity window or some other similar recording software in the background and just use my own quality settings. But in the end, I'd have to sync up the audio and the video, and I just didn't really feel like playing that particular game. As far as the playback software goes, well, the playback software, that's got a lot of character. Character, that's a good word for it. It's unstable is what I would tell you, and I really don't think it's the fault of my computer, because this computer back here, which there's quite a story behind this, it has a brand new motherboard in it and has passed all the Dell provided diagnostic tests. So I really don't think there's anything wrong with the computer, especially since the recording half of the Lorex software works fine. By character, I mean that the playback application will randomly crash, it delivers runtime errors, it disappears from the screen in a silent crash. Just doesn't seem to have been as carefully thought out as the recording side of things. And if you should get this particular capture card, I must say that reading the manual is a prerequisite to understand everything that the software does, because to me the discoverability just isn't there. It's not easy to just figure out what something does by clicking on it. There's no tool tips. And just like every other software DVR manufacturer that I know of, they have this infuriating tendency to want to haul out the crayons and design their own. This surely must be better than Windows user interface that looks like it's been made out of Play-Doh or something, and that kind of thing just really doesn't appeal to me. So anyway, the whole thing does work. We got some video. The Keykeeper and I got some video of him sitting on my bed delivering a monologue. And that brings me to the actual audio capturing part of this little experiment. Here we have a fine RadioShack omnidirectional dynamic microphone. And this is catalog number 33-3039. Costs all of $25 and is probably worth every penny. It actually, as far as such things go, doesn't do too bad of a job capturing all the sounds in this room at least. And when you record with a decent sampling rate and bit depth, it's actually got pretty good fidelity. So it should be interesting to see how all this comes together, because this is the finished setup. A RadioShack microphone just sitting here on this turntable, and this cheap Chinese security camera. I should add that the wonderful personality of the Lorex playback application can at least be worked around, because they did provide a nice little utility that converts their proprietary video format, which they say is based on H.264, to a much more standard MPEG-4 encoded video that almost anything can play back. And so you can bypass the flaky playback application completely. Still, if you're going to buy one of these cards and use it for its intended purpose, it's a bit of a stumbling block. Now, I don't know, and I haven't been to the Lorex website to find out if the software that I got with the card is an older release or not. I guess you could say I didn't feel like being bothered to do that at the time. But if you're having these problems, it might not hurt to go to their website and see if maybe there is a newer release of their capture software available that might work better.
What a ramble, huh? He's always making a mess out of everything.
That's not really rambling.
Fine, I'll ramble. Where's my pillow at? I don't know how the hell you can only sleep with like, what the hell is this on pillow? How can you only sleep with 2 pillows? I sleep on like 10. Seriously, how can you only sleep with 2 pillows?
Well, rather than sit and bore you all to death with a bunch of videos from my sleep study or even a bunch of still images and stuff like that, I'll tell you what I found out. First of all, if you're thinking of doing something like this, it's okay to do it for fun. But this is no substitute if you think you've got some kind of a health problem pertaining to your sleep. You need to see a medical doctor. This is no kind of substitute for a proper sleep examination. This is just something that I did because I'm curious, not because I have any ills or anything like that. I've just been told that, I get very animated in my sleep. So definitely don't do something like this in lieu of seeking proper medical treatment, okay? That said, basically, I did notice that I do move around a lot when I sleep. I tend to move my bed things all over the place. I rearrange my pillow a lot. I make little grunts and moans when I sleep, and at times I snore. I did find that out. I wouldn't say the sound quality was great. As you saw in the clip from just a moment ago featuring the Keykeeper, you can see that the sound quality really isn't very much. But it was good enough to determine, that I was doing things, that I was making various sounds. The most curious thing that I discovered when I was making this video is the fact that during a number of times in the night, I would move around and I could see that my eyes were open, which really kind of surprised me. Now, I don't have any memory of these things, and I really don't think I was awake. So I don't know what that was, but I could tell because the infrared illuminator in the camera would tend to make my eyes reflect. And so you could tell the difference between when they were open and when they were closed. All in all, it's been a very interesting little experiment. It's something that, technology has made cheap enough to just play with as kind of a fun thing to do. Other things that I noticed, what else did I notice? I notice I tend to move my limbs around, especially my arms and my feet. Other than that, I change position a couple times a night, usually alternating between sleeping on either one of my sides, my back or my stomach. And I also noticed that Bizarre Furhead and the Keykeeper were apparently up fairly late because I could actually hear them talking somewhere on the soundtrack. So I'm guessing they were in the area, probably in there on the Keykeeper's computer, watching Netflix movies or something. So there you have it, uxwbill's sleep study. Good or bad, better or worse, whatever it might be, that's all there is to it. Thank you for watching.